So if you clicked on this video, you're probably either currently dealing with some icky feelings or some fears or some doubt, or maybe you just keep going back and forth and you feel like you're stuck in this never-ending cycle. Either way, today I'd like to help you with this and give you some tips on how to deal with those emotions. My name is Lorena. I'm a spiritual life coach and also a breathwork teacher. I'm primarily focused on Neville Goddard's teachings, and I'm here to help you shift your state of being and recreate your reality. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching or breathwork with me, you can find the information for that in the description box below. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. And now let's get into it. So in this video, I will tell you more about the nature of your emotions, your fears, and your doubt. I will give you some important tips on how to manage and regulate them. And at the end, I will also give you some practical tools to regulate your emotions and to even overcome them. So to bring it back to the basics, your fears and your doubts are rooted in your self-concept, past experiences that you've made, things that you maybe learned or experienced as a child, and any story that you may have created as a consequence of this. This stuff is usually quite persistent. You may find yourself going back and forth and going in circles and having the same fears and the same doubts over and over again, seemingly not being able to overcome them. The thing is that it's human nature to look at what's around you and assign a meaning to that. We look at our physical circumstances to determine the way we feel. We take that as truth. And we think our physical circumstances are what influences our emotions, but they don't have to. We can choose how we feel. What I want you to learn is to not blame the way you feel on your physical circumstances. For example, if right now you pause this video and you take a moment to just go into your imagination and to think about something that you really desire or a really happy memory, then you will be able to pull up those beautiful emotions and you will forget all about your problems for that moment at least. This alone shows you that your emotions are not dependent on your physical circumstances, but that you can take power over them. The same way it may work the other way around. So you may feel good one moment, but then a thought pops into your head and suddenly you start spiraling and you think about all those worst case scenarios and then you're suddenly stuck in fear and everything feels horrible. It's not the physical circumstances that influenced that. You created that then in your mind. Right now, in this very moment, what is actually wrong? Nothing. You are watching this video. The fears and doubts that you have are in your mind. They're not actually real, present fact. At least not in this very moment, right here, right now. All that being said, the fact that you're able to choose your emotions does not mean that you should deny or suppress any emotions when they do come up, but more on this later. Let's talk about how to regulate your emotions. So for me, the key thing here is your nervous system. If you've watched multiple of my videos or you've been following me for a while, you will know that I don't solely focus on the mind. Mostly when people learn about manifestation, they think everything happens in the mind, but a lot of it actually happens in the body because it's all about feeling. And when you feel emotions in your body, it's very important that you learn to manage them and that you learn to release them. Because if you don't do anything with them, if you push them away, for example, they just stay in your body, they don't go anywhere. So very often when we feel an emotion, it's actually an old emotion. We're actually reacting to the past rather than to the present moment. And that's because you then never released the emotion before. You've never healthily expressed the emotion before. So it comes up in moments where you feel triggered. And because your emotions largely live in your body, not in your mind can trigger that, but largely they live in your body. It's important, in my perspective at least, to release them physically rather than trying to think them away or ruminating over and over and over again in your mind. So I'll go through a few key emotions that we all experience because we're all human, and I'll tell you what I like to do for each emotion. Let's take anger as the first one. Anger can feel like a really violent emotion that we don't want to express because it feels like we're losing control if we let that anger go, if we let it happen, if we let it flow through us. But anger is actually quite easily released through movement. I like using shaking. You know, you can punch a pillow, or you can even use your voice and scream. For anger, physical movement is excellent to just get it out. And that brings you back into the body, so you're not creating a story around it in your mind. The next one is fear. Fear is a bit more difficult for me personally, at least, but here I also really like using movement, be that shaking or even dancing. And the reason I think this works really well is because, again, it brings you back into the body, but also very often when we're in fear, we're freezing. So that helps you open up, because when we're in fear, we often make ourselves small, but that helps you open up and it helps you get that energy out. Then I think for fear, really powerful are any form of grounding and mindfulness exercises. So that can be as simple as walking barefoot or reconnecting to nature, or it can just be my favorite tool, which is the breath. Using different breathing exercises which slow down the breath, which calm down your nervous system. And then there is sadness and grief, for which I think crying is the perfect medicine. You know, allow yourself to cry if you have to cry. Let it out and, you know, soothe yourself. You can also use sound for grief or sadness. It can be really powerful to just let it all out. And then there's shame and guilt, which are often like more longer lasting emotions, because they often stem from some core beliefs that we have. And for that, the key is self-forgiveness. And forgiveness is a whole other topic, but there's various ways to forgive somebody else or yourself. You can let me know if you'd like a video on that too at some point. Just leave me a comment below. And you can also just give yourself a little hug, because that creates some safety. That's really good for fear as well. And it gives you some reassurance. The reason I'm mentioning these tools before telling you how to deal with fears and doubts in general is because releasing it physically can bring you back to a state of calmness and relaxation. And that then gives you the space to embody the state of being you actually want to embody. And you can then do that through any technique you like. You can then use affirmations, or you can use meditation, or you can use visualization, whatever resonates with you, really. But what I'm telling you is to only do that once you've held space for the emotion first, because otherwise you're just pushing it away and pretending it's not there, but it will still be there. It's still gonna be in your body. And the important thing is also, do not release the emotion simply as a means to an end. You know, don't do these practices just so the emotion finally goes away. Be in it and feel it fully and see that it leaves naturally, because it will, and it will do so much quicker than you think it will. So you may ask, why should I not push them away? Well, I already said if you push them away, they don't go anywhere. They will stay with you until you look at them and until you feel them. And they want to be felt. They are not here to harm you. They are not who you are. They're just giving you signs, you know, they just tell you, this is not what I like. Just pay attention to them. Why are they there? What can they teach you? Emotions are essentially just manifestations in themselves. You having an emotion, regardless of how painful it may be, or how persistent it may be, or how annoying it may be, it's not going to last. It's not permanent. And the more you resist them or push them away, the more often they will return. Now, of course, the opposite end of that would be you spiraling, and you also don't want to do that, because that would be you getting so caught up in them that you actually do give them power over you. And we don't want that, because you have the power. Now, let's get to the exciting part. How do you actually overcome your fears and your doubts and any challenging emotions? I'm going to give you 4 different tools for this. Number 1, change the narrative around your emotions. They don't mean anything. They are just circumstances. They are absolutely human and natural, and they are just part of a state of being. So they are completely neutral. Stop labeling emotions as something good or something bad. They just are. It's just an experience you're having. One emotion is not better than the other. You are the one who labels that. When you feel a so-called negative emotion, the reason you often just want to get rid of them is because you're labeling it as something that is not serving you. But what if it is? You are the one who's then labeling it as something negative. What if it's actually benefiting you? See it as a gift. As I said before, they actually teach you something. They show you what you don't want. And often they give rise to your desires in the first place. You can't know what joy feels like if you've never felt sadness. You can't know what love feels like if you've never felt fear. You wouldn't know how to recognize it. My second way to overcome your emotions is to accept them as they are and feel them fully. So you go all in. This means feeling them in your body and doing something with them to release them through the techniques that I've mentioned before, without giving it meaning, without creating a story around them, without going into a thought spiral and starting to ruminate. And that can often be terrifying for people, because you may think, okay, but if I go into the fear or the anger, what if it overwhelms me? What if I can't get out? I don't know what's going to happen. See, the thing is, what you're afraid of is the not knowing, it's the uncertainty. But you will never get stuck there, because no emotion is permanent. You will only get stuck if you keep yourself stuck. And as long as you're not allowing yourself to experience the emotion, as I said, it's going to return. So you are actually then stuck. What you really fear is fear. What you really fear is the not knowing. It's not the emotion itself, it's the loss of control. And that's just coming from your ego. Your ego does not want to lose control. Ask yourself why you don't want to feel the emotion. Often it's because you think it means something bad. As I said, you think it's not serving you. Often in this manifestation community, people also have a fear of feeling negative emotions because they think they will manifest something bad, which, by the way, is not true. Just feeling an emotion does not manifest it immediately. In fact, when you allow yourself to go into the emotion, you're actually not in a state of fear anymore. You're in a state of acceptance. So that's actually benefiting you more than anything, because it's a conscious choice. You're not fighting anything. Or the other reason might be because it's uncomfortable, because of course, grief, anger, fear, they all feel uncomfortable. But does it not make sense to just sit with the discomfort rather than pushing it away and having it return over and over again? If you make a conscious choice to feel it all, then you are the one in power, not the thoughts or the emotions that you feel. So don't give them the power over you. My next tip is question them. Question your fears, question your doubts. You always have two voices in your head, right? You've got the voice that believes and you've got the voice that doubts. And you choose which one you follow. So here's an example. Let's say you use the affirmation, I am worthy. And then your brain immediately goes, no, you're not. So you've already questioned that affirmation. What if you do that the other way around? Next time you have a thought of, maybe I'm not worthy, maybe it's not working out. Question that. Ask yourself, well, why shouldn't it? Why not? Is that really true? Take charge here. Take your power back. Don't just let the thought come and follow it. Don't let it come and push it away. Don't be afraid of it. Look at it and start questioning it. And the thing is, when you really bring it down to the core of it, it's not true. What you're basing it off is circumstances and past experiences and what you're currently seeing, not of who you are. When you bring it down to the core, you will actually see that there is no reason for this belief and that there is nothing to fear. And my fourth tip is, don't make the feelings yours. What I mean by that is, you have feelings, but it's not who you are. Remind yourself that they are temporary and that they are just moving through you. As I said, we all have a full spectrum of emotions, and you can allow yourself to feel them fully, but don't identify with them, don't hang on to them, don't make them yours. Step outside of yourself and observe what's happening, as if it was happening to somebody else, whilst still allowing yourself to feel the sensations and to feel the emotion. Your fears and your doubts will never fully disappear, because you're human. We all have them, but they are just coming from a place within you that longs for what you deserve and what you desire. They are just coming from a place within you that's been hurt before, or that's maybe hurt right in this moment. Why would you want to push a part of you away? Why not befriend your fears and your doubts? Spend time with them, learn to manage them, and actively and consciously choose not to believe them. The voice in your head will also never fully disappear, but once you take its power away And once you shift your focus, what will happen is that it gets quieter and quieter until at some point you will barely hear it anymore. At the end of the day, you can choose which narrative you want to follow. I hope this helped you. Please comment below and let me know what helped you the most, because there was actually a lot in here. And next week, we're going to go a bit deeper into where those patterns came from. We're going to talk about inner child healing. So if you would like to see that video, please subscribe. And if you'd like to stay connected, you can also join my free Facebook group. It's linked below. I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day.